So welcome everyone on the data monetization session. I'm going to be talking about how you could boost your product and add new revenue streams. So for my session today, here's the agenda. So I first want to talk about what data monetization is and why it's such a popular word these days. I then want to break it down into two different categories because I think it's really important to think of in two different spectrums, which is going to be the direct monetization and indirect monetization. And you just heard from the customers a bit kind of the difference there, and I'll tie it back to that. Then I want to go through an example of how you can tier your product, something that we've seen a lot of our customers do. And then I'll end with a little tidbit on why Looker. And I know Skander went over that a little bit, so we'll keep that one short. So let's start with what data monetization is. So our team has come up with the definition that data monetization through embedded analytics is the business model that drives revenue channels by leveraging data and analytics in a company's product, application, or website. And as you all know, because you're here today, data has become, and data as a service has become such a big industry over the past few years. We're collecting so much data, we see data everywhere. So now it's almost like an expectation that companies provide that data back to their end users. In fact, according to the McKinsey Global Survey on Data and Analytics, data monetization seems to correlate with industry-leading performance. And that's no surprise now that you see data everywhere and data being a part of everyday life. So I'm really excited to talk about this topic today because I can see it just exploding over the next few years. So I want to give you a tidbit on how we think about data monetization here at Looker. So the first category, or I guess bucket, that I want to talk about is what is direct monetization. And I think this is the easier one to conceptualize because it's literally going to be the one where you're passing the cost on to your customer. You're literally charging for access to data or data features, and you're creating direct revenue streams that become a line item in your business plan, right? You're literally charging, you're giving your customers a service, they're paying you back for it, and that's going to be direct monetization. This is super common in the B2B space. So we see our B2B customers doing this a lot. When companies are purchasing software, it's not difficult for them to pass on the charge to their customers to provide data analytics because as a company, and data is becoming a part of the day-to-day workflow. So on this slide, what I want to talk about on the left-hand side and the right-hand side is different ways that you can directly monetize your data and your data analytics package within your own product. So we'll start on the left-hand side here with packaging insight solutions. I think it's a lot of people and customers tend to think that you only want to monetize based on features that your product can provide. But I think it's really important to think about what the actual data that you're providing is and what value that brings to your customers. And that's what we call packaged insight solutions. Even within certain data reports, there's different ways to monetize them. You can give access to different levels of data granularity to your customers, whether that's monthly to weekly to daily, or product to category, or even the past 2 years instead of the past 5 years. That becomes super valuable. That once people have that taste of access to data, they're gonna always ask that why question. And in order to naturally get the answer to that why question, you need different levels of data granularity. So that's something we can see our customers, charging for. Different dashboards and KPIs. Not all reports are created equal. Different reports are going to be valued different by customers. So even within, just a dashboarding concept, you can charge for different dashboards. And I'll go into that a little bit more later. And something we're seeing come up a lot on the data side these days is benchmark analysis. Being able to do peer versus universe analytics, that becomes really important as people are using data to judge how their products are doing. So being able to just package different data spectrums in your solution. Then, of course, there's the features. I think you heard the customers earlier talking about this, but customers are asking for automation and scheduling, being able to get reports when and where they need it, being able to drill further into details. That natural why is this happening? Why did this occur question is always going to come up. Even if you're not the most data savvy person, it's just human nature. You just always ask why, right? Being able to drill for that. Being alerted from real-time analytics. So having alerts come directly to you when something happens instead of having to monitor, that's something that becomes super valuable to your customers. And then just data delivery, being able to give people data where they need it. Maybe your customers aren't logging into your product every day, but they need your data. You can give them the option to deliver that data where they need. So it's really important to think about, data plus features as a way to monetize. Now going to the right-hand side of the slide, you have access to insights. And I'm actually going to steal what Rajesh said in the last session because I really liked how he said this. But that configurability and the delightfulness of being able to create reports for your customers' needs becomes really valuable and important. So it's ad hoc analytics and custom reports that you can do with the Looker platform. But the idea that you can pass that on to your customers is something that is going to get valued super highly. And being able to not just, get the reports and the static reports you need, but naturally you can't answer every possible question that your customers would want to ask you through a dashboard, right? Giving them the ability to slice and dice that data how they want is definitely something we've seen our customers being able to monetize directly as a line item. Great. Next, I want to move on to what is indirect monetization. So I think this one's not as straightforward, but from what we've heard from our customers is actually the one that provides more ROI in general when it comes to monetizing your data. So this is very common in both the B2C and B2B space. And like I mentioned before, data has become the biggest buzzword in business right now. And you heard the customers from the panel talking about this as well, right? It's almost become the baseline and standard for products. If you don't see data in a product, you're kind of confused because you're like, wait, data is everywhere. In every product now I'm seeing data and analytics. So to maintain your competitive advantage and strengthen it, data has to be there. So even if you're not charging your customers directly for data, there's a lot of benefits for putting data analytics into your product in terms of getting that indirect monetization. So we're seeing the following outcomes from this. We're seeing our customers talk about how they have higher acquisition and higher conversion, retention and engagement and adoption from having analytics in their product. Also, as you heard even from the customers before, maintaining and strengthening your competitive advantage. It's just the baseline now. You kind of need to have it. In addition, brand recognition, just people knowing your name, that comes from having data in your product. People are talking about it. And then we'll go into this a little bit more, but proof of your product's value, showing that data, showing how your product is adding value to your customers' day-to-day workflows and life choices or whatever the case might be through numbers just becomes such a compelling argument. And I have an example to share from my personal life that I think will resonate because it's, something that I'm sure has not only happened to me. Well, I hope it hasn't only happened to me because then I might be a sucker if I'm the only one this happened to. But when quarantine started, I decided to pick up a new hobby, which was running because, there was nothing else to do. So I would go running. And I was never a runner before, but at first I was like, okay, I'm going to start running. And I have an iPhone. So I was using the free Apple Health Care app, right? So it was telling me how far I ran, which was great at the beginning. All I cared about was knowing, I ran further the next day than I did the day before. But as I started to become more into running and I was doing it more and more often, I thought, now I want to see how fast I'm running or what my pace is at different points or how fast I'm going uphill versus downhill, different analytics, right? That wasn't offered in the Apple app. So I decided to download the Nike Runners Club app, which was recommended to me by a friend. Also a free app, and that app gives me the data that I wanted. It tells me how fast I run. It has all my historical data. It maps out my route. It tells me, what my elevation is. And so again, this is data that was free. They're not charging me for data, but what did happen was now that I'm using the Nike Run Club app every day, all of a sudden I'm getting coupons saying, here's 20% off your next purchase at Nike. I'm seeing that directly in the running app, and I'm like, great. I have to buy Nike products now because now I'm a runner. So I decided to get, my Nike shoes, my Nike clothes, and now I'm like repping Nike all around New York City, right? But that wasn't a direct, the data they gave me in their app wasn't a direct revenue stream, but it acquired me as a customer and converted me as a customer because they offered me that data that I wasn't getting in a different app. So that's just like kind of a silly example of how, that indirect monetization can really change, the way your product is engaging with your customers. To end on the indirect monetization, I think analytics proves your product is making a positive impact in your consumer's life. Everyone wants a feel-good story. How happy am I to know that, I've ran the past few days for X amount of miles? It makes me feel so good. And that data is just showing me more and more why I need to be using this application. And that, applies to not just, a consumer app, but a lot of different products here, right? I think a really fun example that I like to bring up is Peloton in general. It's a company that took a hardware like a bike and made it into a software. People are spending so much money buying Pelotons because the data it provides and allows you to interact with that data is what's making it fun. People want this bike now so that they can tell their friends and compete with their friends online of how fast, I'm cycling. And I'm not a cycler, but all the nice examples there of, I remember in team meetings, people would be comparing, what their cycling metrics were with each other. And you can see it all on a leaderboard, and it got people really excited. So it's even taking something like a biking exercise hardware and making it into a game and putting data into it, right? So that in and of itself has boosted their sales tremendously. So putting analytics into your product makes your customers and your end users stickier. They want to use it. You're literally showing them with numbers how valuable it is. Alrighty. So now that we've gotten the baseline of what direct and indirect monetization is, I want to move on to how you can tier analytics within your product. And this is all, this is going to be different per customer, per use case, per company. But this is just a generalized example of what a monetization spectrum in your product could look like. And I think it all draws back to the value, and what you have to think about is the value that your end users are seeing from the analytics that you're providing. So we've broken it up into 3 categories here of from left to right, going from the most monetary, the least monetary value to your customers to potentially the most monetary value to your customers. And that's going to be, starting from the left, dashboards and reporting. So periodic reporting, often weekly or monthly, typically static or light interaction, view only, but like at least getting the information they need. So that's going to be valuable to your customers, but maybe not, exponentially more valuable than the next product that they're viewing. But then we can move along this spectrum, and then you can get into something like operational analytics. So real-time analytics, alerting updates, advanced embedding techniques, advanced product features. And this is when you're really creating an opportunity for data to be embedded into the day-to-day workflow of your customers, right? Now, if you're operationalizing those analytics, it's becoming essential for those users in their day-to-day jobs. And then you have data exploration, which is going to be that self-service exploration environment, customized to your end users' needs of how they want to create reports, but allowing them to slice and dice the data however they need. And I wanted to share this slide with you all because this is what we do with our customers when it comes to thinking through how to monetize within your own product. In each of those different categories, there can be a free version and a premium version. Free being that this is kind of, your customers are going to expect, but then that turns into a premium version. Like you heard before, once people get a taste of data, they continue to ask for more. So within dashboard and reporting, ways to think about how to break up what to put in your product versus how to monetize the data in your product. Something like a descriptive report, data you're collecting on behalf of your customer, but is data on that customer, probably should go for free, right? This is data they're going to be expecting. This is their own data. They should be able to download it, et cetera. That's the expectation. But if you're going to take any of that data and combine it with any proprietary analytics that your company and product are doing. And then that's when that adds an increased level of value to your customer. Things like behavioral reports, benchmarking, proprietary analytics, those are all things that add that extra amount of value to your customers and can be put into a premium model. You can break it up in the same way for operational analytics. Maybe you're allowed to download a monthly report and see, monthly statistics. But if your customers need to schedule reports or get, more granular data, maybe it's daily, they want to get alerts or even, SMS alerts. Those are all features, again, that add different value to your customers that you can charge for. And then, of course, in data exploration, I think this is so unique in the field today that the ability to do ad hoc analysis and share your ad hoc results directly from your own product becomes so valuable to your customers that the expectation would be that you would pay for that. Awesome. So you already saw the slide from Skander. He called it the thank you and bragging slide. So I'll agree with him there that thank you all for putting Looker as the #1 embedded business intelligence software, and a little bit of a brag there from us. And again, you also saw this slide, but I just want to reiterate that in terms of how to build your embedded analytics platform, Looker truly is a data platform that can power the rest of your application from that data standpoint. Looker's architecture really is the reason why our customers are able to robustly package their analytics solutions to meet their customers' needs, to make that delightful experience for their customers. So you all have seen what Looker's architecture is, but wanted to reiterate here that, because of our modeling layer and the robust permissioning, you can mix and match any of those, packaged insight solutions, features, access to data, all of that, you can mix and match and create tiers that make the most sense for your customers. Looker really is, an API-first developer platform, so developer and PMs can design whatever analytics solution works for them within their own application. And I would just like to say it's, a pleasure working with all of our customers. Our team has seen, tens of hundreds of these implementations, and it's always amazing to see, what our customers are, building out for their customers. And because you have this platform that can be the backbone of that, the world really becomes your oyster in terms of what you can build.